From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 10th, 2024. Fierce fighting continues between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas in Gaza, and the IDF announced a casualty today. He is 24-year-old Sergeant, First Class in Reserve Elkanah Newlander, killed in fighting yesterday in central Gaza. IDF troops in recent days have eliminated terrorists, and the IDF noted destroyed hundreds of terrorist infrastructures, many of them inside schools, community centers, and municipal buildings. The Times of Israel also cited details of an initial IDF investigation into the explosion in central Gaza, which we reported to you about yesterday, where 6 IDF reserve soldiers were killed. The soldiers were setting explosives intended for demolishing a Hamas terror tunnel in Burej when the charges were set off prematurely by accident. The report saying that this happened apparently when an IDF tank fired shells at a nearby target. One of the shells hit an electricity pole, which somehow activated the explosion. The investigation is ongoing. Rockets were fired at northern Israel from Lebanon today. The IDF said its troops were attacking the source of the fire. And the IDF said Air Force fighter jets attacked an operational headquarters and launch site of the terrorist organization Hezbollah in southern Lebanon today. Also, the IDF confirmed that it did eliminate the commander of the southern Lebanon region of Hezbollah's aerial or drone unit in an airstrike yesterday, noting that the commander led dozens of explosives and surveillance UAV terrorist activities against Israel, as well as the attack against the headquarters of the IDF Northern Command earlier yesterday. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, after meetings in Tel Aviv with Israel's leaders yesterday, met today with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said Blinken discussed ongoing efforts to minimize civilian harm in Gaza and accelerate and increase the delivery of humanitarian assistance to Gaza, and that Blinken reaffirmed that the U.S. supports tangible steps towards the creation of a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, with both living in peace and security. During a press conference in Tel Aviv yesterday, Blinken, responding to a journalist's question, lamented the loss of life in Israel and among Gazan civilians, but said the blame was ultimately on terror group Hamas.
I think it's very important to remember that everyone has choices to make, and that includes Hamas. Hamas could have ended this on October 8th by not hiding behind civilians, by putting down its weapons, by surrendering, by releasing the hostages. None of the suffering would have happened if Hamas did what it did on October 7th, and had it made different decisions thereafter. Again, this could end tomorrow if Hamas makes those decisions.
The Anti-Defamation League's Center on Extremism released a report on the surge of anti-Semitism since the October 7th massacre carried out by Hamas. The ADL saying it has been tracking the spike in the 3 months between October the 7th and January the 7th, and that the number of reported incidents has grown to 3,283, which is a 360% increase over the same period 1 year ago. The anti-Semitic incidents included 1,353 reports of harassment, 553 reports of vandalism, and 60 reported assaults, also documenting 1,317 rallies with reported anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist, or pro-terror content. Well, tens of thousands gathered today at the Kotel, the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City, to pray for the safe return of the hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza, now for 96 days, and for the safety of IDF soldiers. led by Israel's chief rabbis David Lau and Yitzchak Yosef, following a call from the rabbis to cry out and beg and elicit the mercy of heavens on the whole of Israel, crying out from the Kotel today with the blows of the shofar, with prayer and with song, including Achenu, our brothers, which has become a song of prayer for our brothers and sisters in captivity and in harm's way. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, January the 10th at 7 o'clock. JBS strategic analyst David Harris shares his personal Jewish journey. At 7:30, faith community leaders Cantor Dan Mutlu, Rev Adriene Thorne, and Rabbi David Ingber, and others join for music and celebration in solidarity with Israel in a concert hosted by Cantor Azi Schwartz. At 9, it's part 2 of Shai Held on the Chaim. At 10, Rabbi Donniel Hartman speaks on God and the Jewish tradition. And coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 10th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.